Eldridge, a town untouched by time, nestled between rolling hills and ancient forests, it exuded an eerie stillness. The silence was broken only by the rustling leaves and the distant cry of a lonely bird. Eldridge held its secrets close, hidden beneath a veil of normalcy. The town was a place where shadows lingered a little too long. Whispers of forgotten stories danced on the wind. Among the quaint houses and cobbled streets, there stood a monument to a bygone era, the Carrington Public Library. The library was a fortress of knowledge. Its walls held centuries of stories, each page a whisper from the past. Within its hallowed halls, a young woman named Clara Thompson found solace. Clara was different. She didn't belong in the mundane rhythm of Eldridge life. Her soul craved the escape offered by the written word. The library became her sanctuary, a place where she could lose herself in the hushed whispers of forgotten tales. Clara spent countless hours wandering the library's labyrinthine aisles. She inhaled the scent of aged paper and leather. The library held no fear for her, only a sense of belonging. She knew its secrets better than anyone. One autumn afternoon, the air grew crisp with the promise of change. The library seemed to hold its breath, anticipating the coming darkness. Clara was tasked with a simple chore: organize the basement archives. The basement was a place rarely disturbed, a forgotten realm of dust and shadows. As Clara descended the creaking steps, a shiver ran down her spine. The air grew heavy, laden with the weight of forgotten stories. The shelves were crammed with forgotten relics. Books bound in cracked leather, their titles barely visible beneath layers of grime. Clara ran her fingers along their spines, feeling a strange energy pulsate beneath her touch. She was surrounded. Clara moved deeper into the basement's embrace. Each step raised a cloud of dust, swirling around her like phantom dancers. She ran her hand along the shelves, her fingers tracing the spines of forgotten lore. Then she saw it, a door. Not just any door. This one was different. It was imposing, foreboding, as if it were guarding something ancient and powerful. She felt an inexplicable pull towards it, a mixture of fear and curiosity. Clara hesitated, her hand hovering inches from the cold, unyielding surface. It felt wrong to disturb it, like awakening a sleeping giant. Yet something within her, some unseen force, urged her forward. She had to know what lay beyond. The door yielded with a groan, its hinges protesting after centuries of silence. A musty scent wafted out, carrying the weight of forgotten ages. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. Clara stepped inside. The lantern light flickered. The chamber was small, circular, and filled with an oppressive silence. Shelves lined the walls, crammed with books bound in leather and bone. They seemed to pulsate with an inner light, their pages whispering secrets meant for no mortal ears. As Clara stepped further into the room, she felt a presence, not a physical one, but something older, more ethereal. A whisper brushed past her ear, sending shivers down her spine. It beckoned her deeper, promising knowledge beyond human comprehension. Clara's gaze fell upon the pedestal in the center of the chamber. It was crafted from obsidian, as black as night, and upon it rested a single book. Its cover was devoid of any markings, yet it seemed to throb with a life of its own. It called to her. Hesitantly, Clara reached out and touched the book's cover. It was cold, almost painfully so, and sent a jolt of energy through her body. The whispers intensified, swirling around her, urging her to open it, to unlock the secrets contained within. With bated breath, she opened the book. The pages were filled with symbols and diagrams, written in a language she had never seen before. Yet somehow she understood. The knowledge flowed into her, ancient and powerful, awakening something primal within her soul. As Clara delved deeper into the book's forbidden knowledge, she felt a change within herself. The whispers grew stronger, more seductive, urging her to embrace the darkness that was blossoming within her heart. She felt a surge of power. The lines between reality and nightmare blurred. The library, once her sanctuary, now felt like a cage, holding her back from her true potential. The whispers promised her freedom, power beyond her wildest dreams, if only she would surrender to them. Clara slammed the book shut, a look of determination on her face. She had made her choice. The whispers rejoiced, their voices echoing through the chamber. Clara closed her eyes, drawing the darkness deep within herself, and in that moment a pact was forged. She would unlock the secrets of the ancient texts, and in return she would become a conduit for their power. The transformation had begun. The whispers guided Clara, leading her through the labyrinthine paths of knowledge contained within the ancient texts. She learned of forgotten rituals, of powerful incantations, of the delicate balance between life and death. Time ceased to exist. Days and nights melted together in a haze of study and obsession. Clara's appearance changed. Her skin grew paler, her eyes took on a haunted, almost predatory gleam. The whispers fueled her. The library staff noticed the change in Clara. Her once gentle demeanor became sharp, her words laced with a subtle malice. She no longer sought solace in the stories, but saw them as tools, weapons to be wielded in her pursuit of power. Clara was no longer the quiet librarian. She was becoming something more, something ancient and terrible. And the whispers rejoiced, for they knew that soon she would be theirs completely. The whispers wormed their way into Clara's mind. Once quiet murmurs, they now roared, demanding attention. They whispered of forgotten powers, of ancient beings who hungered for a return. They promised her a place at their side. Clara's days were consumed by the texts. She neglected her duties, her friends, her very life outside the library walls. The whispers fed on her obsession, growing stronger with each passing hour. She began to see the world differently. The mundane lives of the library patrons disgusted her. Their ignorance fueled her contempt. They were sheep, blind to the true nature of reality. The whispers demanded more than just study. They craved action, a release of the power that coursed through Clara's veins. They urged her to experiment, to test the limits of her newfound knowledge. Clara began with small acts of malice. A whispered word here, a misplaced book there. She sowed discord among the library staff, turning friend against friend, colleague against colleague. She reveled in their chaos. The whispers applauded her efforts, urging her towards darker deeds. They whispered of rituals, of sacrifices, of the ultimate power that awaited her if she would only embrace the darkness fully. The library, once a place of warmth and wonder, grew colder, darker. The air hung heavy with a sense of dread. The patrons felt it, an unspoken fear that kept them away. Clara, however, felt invigorated. She walked the aisles like a queen, surveying her domain. The books, once sources of comfort, now seemed to bow before her, their whispers echoing her every command. She was no longer their student, but their mistress. The whispers fed her ego, telling her she was chosen, destined for greatness. They promised her immortality, godhood, even if she would only continue down the path they had laid out for her. Clara was no longer in control. The whispers had become a chorus, their voices deafening, drowning out her own thoughts. She was a puppet dancing to their tune, her every action dictated by their insatiable hunger for power. She spent her nights performing rituals from the ancient texts. She summoned shadows, spoke with entities from beyond the veil. Each act pushed her further down the rabbit hole, further from the light of her former self. The library became her temple, her playground. She no longer cared for the preservation of knowledge, but for its exploitation. The books were tools to be used, weapons to be wielded in her quest for ultimate power. Section 5. The abyss beckons. Clara stood at the precipice, gazing into the abyss. The whispers promised her everything, but at a terrible cost. Her soul, her humanity, it all meant nothing in the face of such power. Was she willing to pay the price? She looked around the library, at the empty shelves, the dust-covered furniture. It was a shell, a hollow reminder of the life she was leaving behind. Was there any turning back? The whispers urged her forward, their voices a siren song that promised to drown out the last vestiges of her doubt. One final step, they whispered, and it would all be hers. The power, the glory, the abyss. Section 1. The walls close in. The library, once her refuge, now felt like a predator. Walls seemed to close in, suffocating her with the weight of her choices. She was trapped, ensnared by the whispers that echoed in her mind. There was no escape. Sleep offered no respite. Nightmares plagued her, filled with grotesque creatures and chanting voices. She would wake, heart-pounding, the whispers still swirling around her, a constant reminder of her pact. The whispers demanded more power, more chaos. They whispered of a ritual, a sacrifice that would unleash the full potential of the ancient texts, a sacrifice that chilled her blood. Section 2. A Library of Lies. Clara wandered the library, her eyes scanning the shelves, but the words were meaningless now, nothing more than ink on paper. The whispers had twisted their meanings, poisoned their beauty. She saw only lies. She lashed out, tearing books from their shelves, ripping pages, scattering them across the floor. Centuries of knowledge lay in ruins at her feet, but she felt no remorse, only a cold satisfaction. The other librarians watched in horror, their whispers and concerned glances only fueling her rage. They didn't understand. They couldn't comprehend the power that coursed through her veins. Section 3. The Face of Madness. Clara's reflection in the library windows no longer resembled the bookish young woman she once was. Her eyes, once bright and full of life, were now cold and calculating, like polished stones. The face of madness stared back. She barely recognized herself. Gone was the quiet girl who found solace in words. In her place stood something else, something fueled by whispers and driven by an insatiable hunger for power. The whispers praised her transformation. They told her she was beautiful, powerful, a vessel for their ancient knowledge. Their words were poison, but she drank them in, her mind intoxicated by their seductive lies. Section 4. A Feast of Fear. The library, once a sanctuary for knowledge, became a breeding ground for fear. Patrons who dared to enter felt a chill run down their spines, a sense of unseen eyes watching their every move. Clara reveled in their terror. It was a tangible manifestation of her power, proof that she was no longer bound by the rules of the mundane world. She was becoming something more, something other. She whispered back to the voices in her head, her words laced with a newfound confidence, a dark amusement. She was no longer their student, but their equal, their queen. Section 5. The ritual begins. The whispers grew more insistent, their demands echoing through her mind like thunder. The ritual was upon her. The sacrifice must be made. Clara gathered the ancient texts, their leather covers cold and damp beneath her touch. She descended into the bowels of the library, into the heart of the darkness she had embraced. The air grew heavy, thick with the stench of decay and the weight of centuries of forgotten magic. The chamber awaited her, its silence a living presence. The obsidian pedestal stood in the center of the room, its surface polished to a mirror sheen. The whispers urged her forward, their voices a symphony of anticipation. Tonight, the library would bear witness to a power unlike any it had ever known. Tonight, Clara would unleash the darkness within. The chamber pulsed with anticipation. Clara, bathed in the eerie glow of candlelight, felt a surge of dark energy. The air crackled, alive with the whispers that now seemed to emanate from her very core. She moved with a newfound grace, her steps guided by an unseen force. The ancient texts stacked upon the obsidian pedestal seemed to vibrate in unison with her racing heart. Each beat echoed the whisper's growing fervor. Clara's fingers traced the intricate carvings on the pedestal. They told stories of forgotten gods, of sacrifices made in the pursuit of forbidden knowledge, stories that resonated in her bones, urging her forward. The whispers reached a fever pitch, a cacophony of voices clamoring for release. Clara closed her eyes, drawing their energy into herself, feeling a terrifying sense of power surge through her veins. Clara opened her eyes, her gaze falling upon a silver athame resting on the edge of the pedestal. A gift from the whispers, it pulsed with a faint inner light. She knew what it demanded, a sacrifice. Her heart pounded against her ribs, a frantic rhythm mirroring the whispers' demands. They craved a taste of her world, a link to solidify their hold on her. She knew instinctively what she had to offer. With a trembling hand, she picked up the athame. The cool metal sent a jolt through her, a surge of dark energy that made her gasp. The whispers roared their approval, their voices echoing in her skull. Clara drew a deep breath, the air thick with anticipation and dread. She closed her eyes, focusing on the whispers' instructions. It was time to forge the link, to seal their pact in blood. The athame plunged into her flesh. Pain flared, a searing white-hot agony that ripped through her hand. Clara bit back a scream, her teeth clenching so tightly she thought they might shatter. The whispers rejoiced. Blood, viscous and dark, welled up from the wound. It dripped onto the obsidian pedestal, hissing as it touched the cold stone. The air crackled, the chamber filling with a sickly sweet scent. The scent of power. Clara watched mesmerized as the blood snaked across the surface of the pedestal, drawn towards the stacked books. It seeped into the leather, staining the pages a grotesque crimson. The whispers grew louder, their voices a symphony of dark ecstasy. The pain in her hand subsided, replaced by a dull throbbing. Clara stared at the wound, at the blood that had brought her this power. A wave of nausea washed over her, a flicker of doubt amidst the intoxicating rush. The whispers hissed in her mind, a chorus of disapproval at her hesitation. They reminded her of the power she now wielded, of the knowledge that awaited her. But a part of Clara, buried deep beneath layers of obsession and fear, recoiled. She glanced at the doorway, a sliver of normalcy beyond the confines of the chamber. Could she stop? Could she turn back? Pretend this night had never happened? The whispers roared, their voices a threat. A memory surfaced, a fleeting image of her younger self curled up in a sunlit corner of the library, lost in the pages of a beloved book. A time before the whispers, before the darkness. The memory faded, replaced by the cold reality of the chamber, the scent of blood heavy in the air. The whispers intensified their assault, reminding her of the price she had already paid, the point of no return. Clara took a deep breath, the last vestiges of doubt drowned out by the whisper's intoxicating promises. It was too late for regret. She had chosen her path. Now she had to see it through. She began to chant, the words ripped from the pages of the ancient texts. The air around her crackled with energy, the shadows on the walls dancing. The temperature in the room plummeted, a bone-chilling cold. The candle flames flickered wildly, casting grotesque shadows. The whispers reached a fever pitch, merging into a single deafening roar, and then everything went silent. Clara's heart pounded in her chest, a frantic rhythm. She held her breath, her gaze fixed on the ancient books. Then, from the depths of the stacked texts, a faint glow emerged. It pulsed, growing brighter, casting eerie shadows. The summoning had begun. The light intensified, engulfing the chamber in an otherworldly glow. It pulsed with a life of its own, a beacon of ancient power that seemed to warp the very fabric of reality. Clara shielded her eyes, her heart pounding against her ribs like a captive bird. The whispers, once a cacophony in her mind, were gone. An unsettling silence descended upon the chamber, broken only by the sound of Clara's ragged breathing and the frantic thumping of her heart. A silence that spoke volumes. The scent of ozone filled the air, sharp and metallic. The temperature plummeted, a bone-chilling cold that seemed to claw its way beneath Clara's skin, settling deep within her bones. She felt a presence. It wasn't the seductive whispers, not anymore. This was something ancient, something vast and powerful, and utterly indifferent to her meager human ambitions. A primal fear, cold and sharp, cut through her obsession. Clara's gaze darted to the doorway. Escape! She had to escape. But her legs felt rooted to the spot, frozen by a terror unlike anything she had ever known. The light emanating from the books pulsed once, a heartbeat of pure energy. And then the books began to burn. Flames erupted from their pages, a silent inferno of blinding white fire. The heat was instantaneous, suffocating, licking at Clara's skin like 1,000 tiny claws. She screamed, but it wasn't the flames that terrified her most. It was the knowledge, the inferno of truth that seared its way into her mind, burning away the whispers, the lies, the seductive promises of power that had held her captive for so long. She had been a fool, a pawn in a game far older, far more complex than she could have ever imagined. The whispers hadn't cared for her ambitions. They had used her, manipulated her to reach into this world, to unleash something truly terrifying. Clara stumbled back, shielding her face from the searing heat. The flames roared now, a deafening symphony of destruction that consumed the ancient texts, turning centuries of knowledge into ash. She choked on the smoke, her lungs burning, but even as the flames raged, a part of Clara felt a strange sense of relief. The whispers were gone, their hold on her mind broken. The seductive lies, the promises of power, all reduced to ashes in the inferno. The light from the burning books illuminated the chamber, revealing the true extent of her folly. The obsidian pedestal was scorched black, the silver athame lying forgotten on the floor, its surface dulled, the remnants of her sacrifice. Clara dropped to her knees, her body trembling with exhaustion and the aftershocks of terror. The flames were dying now, the last of the ancient texts consumed. Only a pile of smouldering ash remained, a testament to her hubris. A sob escaped her lips, a raw, ragged sound that echoed through the silent chamber. She had been so close to losing herself, to becoming a vessel for something dark and monstrous. But as the last of the flames flickered and died, a new feeling bloomed in Clara's chest, not power, but a fierce determination. She would learn from this night. She would rise from the ashes, stronger, wiser, a guardian against the darkness. In her place stood the Guardian, ready to protect the world from the whispers that lurked in the shadows.